So, Saturday's session is all about who am I? So, who am I? Obviously, once that is the subject matter of the entire Eastern wisdom, whether we are seeking awakening or spiritual consciousness, you can name so many things. What is required systematic, regular, committed study, reflection on these principles helps us to recognize and realize that real self. Last time we discussed about superimposition, but I want to take a break before we go back again into the superimposition. We will just understand where is this consciousness or where is this I am in this session. Again, teaching from the same master who lived almost, I would say, yeah, 8 to 900 years ago. What is knowledge? So, one definition of the knowledge given by one master who says knowledge is that promotes peace, that helps you to discover peace, happiness, love, and wisdom. What knowledge I have in mind? Today I am upset. No, that guy, whom I met, I hate that guy. This kind of a knowledge we all have throughout the day. Not only throughout the day, the weeks and months and years. And then we are looking for an awakening, not possible. Because mind is already associated with the world outside, with the people, situation, relations outside. Situation has nothing to do with it. Person has nothing to do with, because my association with that person, event, is because of the ego and the ignorance. That is why I say you are good and you are bad. When the mind is free, only when the mind is free from these thought pattern, then only we can think of what is awakening. Not before that. Not possible. Because the mind is already outward moving. So this master says I should ask, what is the subject matter of the journey of the Eastern wisdom and awakening? It is the real self. I am. Real self is I am, real I. So I have to ask my mind, if I am interested, then I can proceed. I was late in attending the session. I had a lot of challenges in sleep and I have lot of problem in relationship. You see, there is no element of who am I in these thought patterns. That is why we say we have to purify the mind. If you don't purify the mind, nothing is going to happen. We may be absorbed in fancies and imagination with great visions. We can have all those visions by psychedelic drugs. Are you getting it? So knowledge of the real self. Knowledge of the real self means an awakening. Awakening means that I am not the body, mind, intellect, and ego. So it means I should know the nature of the real self. So if I want to know the nature of the real self, I should also recognize where is the false I. How? By a cognition, by understanding. So let us understand, we get the knowledge in a waking state. Now the time to pay attention. Sometimes what happens, you are listening to the teacher and these principles, the mind is still associated with the thoughts, situation, people, relationship outside. That is why Master says, no, I have to be a seeker. My focus and attention should always be there. What is the goal is the real self. Let us start with the waking state. In the waking state, we have variety of experiences. Yes. So ask yourself, what is the experience? Sometimes that experience is also called the perception or also the knowledge. Whether you say it is an experience, perception, and knowledge. Am I clear? So variety of objects and variety of perceptions and the variety of experiences. I'm looking at all of you. I'm aware of the names of all of you. At the same time, I'm looking at the screen of my computer. I'm talking, I'm aware. So you see that variety of objects and variety of experiences. Today's lesson makes it so easy, provided we are a seeker. Why we say variety of perception and experience is because each experience is different. Each experience is different from other. Experience of a person, experience of what you are wearing, experience of a sensation, experience of a screen, experience of what I'm speaking, experience of the pain and the pleasure, desires. So in a waking state, we have variety of experiences, variety of objects. No, you are asking, you are on the search for the real self. Yes, we are coming to that. Why we have variety of experiences? Ask yourself. Because we have variety of thoughts, because we have variety of objects. So difference in experience is due to the different objects. Am I clear? So the external diversity is proved by the internal diversity. I see you all are different. How? Because my mind has an experience inside me. So in terms of the thought, I feel the different thoughts. So the different objects and the different perception. Objects are outside, experience is inside, perception is inside. We have to find out why there is not one experience, one perception, and one knowledge. So we have to define the perception or the knowledge. What is that knowledge or what is that perception? For example, I see David, I feel as one thing as perception. When I see Christina, when I see David or Terry, I see only one thing. I have a knowledge about the Sam and the Christina, but it has two things. What are those two things? Thought is one part. Without thought, I cannot recognize what I am seeing. And second part is the consciousness. The moment I say, I know the mouse, so an object is the mouse plus consciousness. This master is so deep and so simple. So when I say I know Christina, means that thought of Christina is equal to an object. What is an object? Christina plus consciousness. Thought of Stephen plus consciousness. That is the meaning. I know Stephen. I experience Stephen. I know Stephen. It is here and now. I need not to do any practice. Thought plus consciousness is equal to perception or the knowledge. Find out if it is not true. You don't have a thought, you don't have a knowledge. Just an emptiness. Thought alone cannot make perception. Now see the other part. See the breathtaking analysis just to understand. And that is why we have to be a seeker. My mind should not be associated while listening these principles, causing hatred, jealousy, duality, and a conflict. It will not work. Your mind is already engaged there. So thought of an object plus consciousness is the perception of an object. That is the knowledge. That is what we are talking about. Thought alone cannot make any perception or knowledge. Thought must be associated with the consciousness. And consciousness alone cannot make a perception or knowledge. So there is a mixture. What is that mixture? Thought of an object plus consciousness. I'm talking about waking state. Think. Just here and now. We need not to practice later. Fan is moving. One part is visible and other part is invisible. Electricity is invisible. Fan is moving. I see the visible part. You see, anywhere, in any perception, we have an object and we have a consciousness. Come back. Variety of perceptions means variety of experiences because objects are many, because thoughts are many. Do you see in meditation? That is why we say, oh, let us watch these thoughts because the thoughts are many. And each thought is associated with an object outside. Do you see why our master says, no, you should not, you should allow these thoughts to come and go. Thought of an object plus consciousness. Pay attention. One part is hidden, other part is manifest. Diversity, now see, diversity belongs to the thought. Why? Every object is different. Diversity of thought because of variety of objects, but consciousness is the same. You see the analysis? Consciousness is the same. I know David, object of a David plus consciousness. Now I know Stephen, object is the Stephen plus consciousness. See, look at it. Consciousness is one. I get lost into the diversity. That is why in meditation it says withdraw your mind from outside to inside. No, withdraw your mind from the variety of the thoughts because it results into diversity of experiences. Consciousness is only one, remains uniform throughout all my experiences. Even if I say I am in stress, object of stress plus consciousness. Nothing happens to the consciousness. So I associate myself with the stress, so that is why I'm in stress. Consciousness appears many due to many thoughts and many objects, but it is not true. Do we understand it clearly? Consciousness is the same. It appears many. Why it appears many? Because I get associated with a thought, I get associated with an object, I get associated with a person or a thing or an event or a situation. That I is the ego. Why the consciousness is same in all perception, experience and the knowledge. That is the nature of the knowledge. In a waking state, the one consciousness appears as many due to objects and the thoughts. Does consciousness go and return? What does it mean? So we have reached to that one common factor is the consciousness is in all my knowledge, in all my perceptions. I get carried away by a situation, by a person, by a relationship. So I feel I have changed, but the consciousness that as such does not change at all. It does not change. It remains the same. Today, tomorrow, day after. You are angry and upset. Anger is an object plus consciousness. You are happy. Happy is an object plus consciousness. And that consciousness does not go anywhere. Whether there is an object or there is no object. Whether there is a thought, there is no thought, consciousness is always there. Today, Sam is not attending the session, but the consciousness is still there. So when I see this Sam as an object, consciousness is still there. So where we get lost, it is I understand it intellectually. Where I get lost, I get lost in variety of experiences and the variety of objects and the variety of the thoughts. But that consciousness is always there. Thoughts come and go. Objects appear and disappears. You can extend that statement to, I marry and divorce. Consciousness is still there. But I get associated with an object or a person in a relationship, and that results in the pain and the suffering. Little deeper, but not so deep. Consciousness turns into perception only when a thought arises. Consciousness turns into a perception or a knowledge when there is a thought. When there is a thought, there is an object. There are many thoughts, many objects. Consciousness is still one. So I lose my awareness of what is behind. Consciousness is present throughout the waking state. In a waking state, again I'm repeating, we have variety of perception and the knowledge. Each experience we have a variety. Taste, form, color, sensation, name, form, variety. But behind that there is only one consciousness. Millions of perception, millions of the thoughts, diversity is there, but there is only one consciousness, and that is me, that is the real self. The same thing happens in the dream state also. You have variety of objects in the dream, variety of perception, variety of experiences. That is what we call the knowledge. But we have a knowledge of others. They are many, diverse, millions. You don't associate with themselves. See, what is left is the only consciousness. That is I am. This master is very analytical. In the very beginning, he says, forget about spirituality, forget about awakening, forget about spirit. Understand it. We are not talking of any religion, dogma, beliefs, etc. We are not talking of this awakening. And then he comes down to that this is what we say the God, this is what we say the awakening. So we have covered the two states, more or less the same thing. In the dream state, those diversity of objects and the experiences remain for a shorter period. And in a waking state, it remains for a longer period. But otherwise, diversity is there, Millions of thoughts are there, millions of objects are there, millions of experiences are there, but only one consciousness. But what happens in the sleep state? How do you understand that? So when you wake up, you say, I had a sound sleep. Sound sleep is an object. You remembered, someone remembered in a deep sleep state that you had a deep sleep. Because you record that memory. Memory cannot be present without perception. If I have a memory, I have already experienced before. Do you see that? See the analysis? If I say I had a sound sleep, but now I'm in a waking state, I don't know any sleeping state, but I had a memory of the sleeping state that I had slept very well. So sleep is an object. That sound sleep is an object. Object of perception. It means someone deep inside the sleep experienced that deep sleep. Are you clear? So in the deep sleep, without memory, I cannot remember. And memory only is possible when I have a knowledge. Knowledge is only possible when I have a perception. You see the mathematical analysis? So object of peace was there in the deep sleep. My mind was sleeping. But somewhere the experiences took place. That's why I had the memory. Am I clear? It goes a little deeper than the modern psychology. No, but there is another experience also. What is that experience? There is an absence of thought in deep sleep. That is also an experience. So where it is happening? It is happening in the presence of the consciousness. Whether the object is there or object is not there. You are there in front of me. So I experience you. You are not there in front of me. Consciousness is still there. You are absent. So in experience we see, when we don't see anything, we say ignorance. So ignorance is an object. That is one object, and second object is my sound sleep. Now ask yourself. Now, Master, ask yourself. Are you three consciousnesses or one? Is a waking consciousness, sleep consciousness, or dream consciousness? If you are three, you will never remember. After you wake up, you will not remember what happened in the past, what happened yesterday. So obviously it proves that consciousness is only one. It is a one uniform consciousness passes through waking state, dream state, sleep state. What is common? It is consciousness. In spite of the fact, you see, in spite of the fact that sleep state does not know the waking state does not know the dream state. I'm a sleeper, I'm a waker, I'm a dreamer, I'm none of them. What unites that is real I am, and that is only consciousness. We have one set of experiences in the waking state, another set of experiences in the dream state, third, another set of experiences in the sleep state. This journey, this discussion, you need to be a seeker, at a higher level of a seeker. Your attention is not hijacked by the variety of the thoughts and variety of experiences. Why it is hijacked? Because I have some sense of attachment, likes and dislikes. Are you getting it? That is why Master says, no, you have to be a seeker. So the Master asking the question, what happens? What about the consciousness today, yesterday, Day before yesterday, last week, last year, how many years we live, consciousness is the same. Are you getting it? Say yes, even if you are not getting it, you will get it. Consciousness is the same days after days, weeks after weeks, months after months. One common factor that joins the waking, dream, and sleep state, one common factor that joins the stress I experience and the pleasure I have. One common factor, consciousness, that joins me whether I got married or I divorced. I fought with you and I love you. Consciousness is the common factor, one common factor. What is that common factor? Is the consciousness. Who is this consciousness? I am the consciousness. I am the real self. It is the same 24/7. Even if I say I am upset with you, that upset and you are an object, plus a thought of an upset, plus a consciousness. So consciousness is still independent. Tell me, argue, reason out. You hammer your mind with this kind of a reasoning. So what happens? All the thoughts that are entering into your mind will leave you totally empty. In that emptiness, we recognize, oh, this is what consciousness is, still there in that state of emptiness. See that. This master says, no, forget about spirituality, awakening, etc. Understand it first. And then we will talk of the three states are different. You see, the three states are different. In every state, the objects and the thoughts are different. Why they are different? Are they different due to me? No. They are different because of the diversity of objects, diversity of the people, the thoughts. But I'm none of these thoughts, I'm none of the objects. So what is left is the consciousness. Objects of experience, objects are different. Many objects, many thoughts. Consciousness associated with perception is knowledge. How the mind knows the knowledge. When I say I know you, I know Dennis, and what it means? Consciousness associated with perception is knowledge. Experiences are many, but what is one is the consciousness. Only the association leads into variety of experiences, but consciousness still does not change, it is the same. Can I separate that consciousness physically? No way. That is the problem. That is the problem. We cannot dissociate physically this consciousness from the mind, from the body. Then how do you separate? I separate cognitively. That is why we say sit in meditation, close your eyes, withdraw your mind inside. Do you see that? So now you also understand why these practices are given. Every teacher, one common thing, close your eyes, be comfortable, move the mind inside. So this master says, no, you need not to close your eyes. You can know you are consciousness even with eyes open. Why? Consciousness is still present here while listening, while talking. It is still present. It is always present. Because I know something, I experience something, if I am not present, I cannot. What happens in deep sleep, I have already told you. When you return from a sleep, you say, oh, I was sleeping in meditation. So somewhere, because of the memory, you have the memory. Oh, I slept in meditation. So you had the memory. Memory is only based on the knowledge or the perception. Mind did not know. So their master says the causal body knows. It keeps that memory which is retrieved in a waking state. We are one consciousness. We all are one consciousness. So we see through my eyes. My consciousness is filtered wrongly by the mind based on the preferences, based on the likes and dislikes. I always give an example of the honey and marriage and divorce. Find out you married to someone and now you divorce. What changes taken place in you? Or the changes has taken place in the mind. The mind has the likes and dislikes. Like honey, dislike. Do you see that? Object. I get associated with an object with the preferences of likes and dislikes because of non-thinking. So I hate you, I love you, I am attached to you, I am detached. Well, what happens to that consciousness? Consciousness remains the same. Consciousness remains. The moment that guy comes in front of you, you wait. So the consciousness is filtered by the mind, retrieves the past memory, so the idea of the hatred comes to you. Does the consciousness have hatred? Consciousness is likes. Nothing. Consciousness is neutral. It is one pure consciousness everywhere. That is known as the third eye. I'm just giving you an idea. We will understand that. That is known as the third eye. And we are focused, we focus heavily here. Instead of third eye, we have a lot of hallucinations and imaginations. So we talk of the spirituality, and the spirituality is destroyed by our ignorance. You can all see anything that comes and goes, anything that changes, any experience of good and bad, high and low, likes and dislikes takes place. I recognize. I like something, I dislike something. I hate something, I love something. It is happening in the presence of the consciousness. I may have a variety of the thought due to the variety of objects and variety of people outside, but the consciousness remains the same. Regular, committed, study, regular contemplation and reflection makes the mind mature. There is a sense of mental maturity with reference to who am I. That mental maturity with reference to who am I is known as that you are a seeker on this path. That is why it is required regular study, contemplation and reflection. What we are contemplating and reflection. Yesterday I was upset. Today at least I am happy. Day before yesterday I had a good sleep. Today I did not have it. We are totally engaged in variety of thoughts and perception and objects which has nothing to do with I. And still I claim I am. That is the false I. Last year, how many times you were upset? Maybe 5 times. Do you still remember? You don't remember that. How many times you had good experiences last year on the same day at the same time? I don't know. So that I is still present. What is don't know is the object and variety of objects and experiences. I'm the consciousness. That I is never lost. Are you getting it? That I is never lost. So what is that I? When I see that I is never lost, it means I did not go under any change. Yes, I did not undergo any change. Since 10 years, 20 years back in the past, I still remember that it is the same I and it is the same I now. Because if there are two I you cannot remember, your experiences will be distorted. So we were talking about the superimposition. We understood briefly what is superimposition in our last session, so we'll continue deeply. How that superimposition is caused by the ignorance. Ignorance has two factors, and that causes that hides the real I. Close your eyes. Eyes are closed. And so again, I have been telling you, you know, mind still wants to believe. After all, when you said eyes are closed, you are doing something. No, you are moving to the knowledge. How do you say that, I'm doing a practice? Who says I'm doing the practice, the small eye, the false eye? Eyes are closed, you are aware. What you are aware, my friends, you are aware. Again, what we discussed, we will translate into this journey so that you are clear about it. I told you it demands a lot of contemplation and reflection. Every day you contemplate and reflect during whatever you do in your life, and that results into awakening. So eyes are closed, you're comfortable is an experience. Where there is an experience, there has to be an object. That is what the perception is. That is what the knowledge is. And I want to explore who am I. So as long as there is an object of experience, it is not me, but it is behind me. No, you spoke very fast. No, I'm speaking very slowly. Eyes are closed. Whose eyes are closed? If you are your eyes, then I can say you are practicing something. That penetrating awareness is required, my friend. I know you have objections. No, we have closed our eyes and we are comfortable. No, you say that you look at the neck joint and experience the sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Yes, I say that. Find out who is that I who claims it is his or her shoulder joint. That I is the false I. It is created by an I thought. Nobody deep inside claims. Another way to go deeper. Our masters have never left anything. That's why we have to teach. We have to adhere teaching from these teachers. Did you understand? Again, I'm saying look at the shoulder joint. So you are looking at the shoulder joint, which is an object. You have a thought of an object, you have an object of knowledge. So you feel sensation, comfort, and steadiness. When I say you feel, who is that you? Mind. Mind has an I thought which claims that I experience. But behind that I experience, there is a consciousness. Recognize it. Your mind says, no, it is very difficult to recognize. Who says it is difficult to recognize in the presence of the consciousness? Consciousness is still present. It is the thought says, I cannot do it. I do it. In both the cases, consciousness has to be there. That remains present all the time. It cannot be absent, my friend, in any cognition. Use it, recognition, cognition, knowing, whatever you want to say, it's okay. No, I didn't listen to you. That is still, the consciousness is still present. What you did not listen is different matter. Sometime my Guruji used to say that, in meditation you merge the sleeping dream and the waking state altogether. It's totally a different state. Even you have those thoughts going into your ears and you understand. And that is what the easiest, for some it is the easiest way you're looking at the entire body. First thing to understand, you are looking at the body, it is an object. So I have a thought of the body plus consciousness that completes the perception. So we say this is the body. Clear? Okay, let us move to the another perception. So when you are aware of the entire body, you experience sensation, comfort, and steadiness. So object of knowledge is sensation, comfort, and steadiness, plus the thought, plus consciousness. So you are just aware of variety of thoughts, variety of objects, variety of experiences in the presence of. That is what is, I used to say, look inside. Awareness of the space. And the space is awareness, and awareness is the space. No, you get a kind of dissociation. Thoughts are coming, thoughts are going. So objects of perception is still there, but you have a kind of dissociation. That dissociation is known as a dispassion. In that state of dispassion, we are alone. Alone means all one. Lonely means I have lot of expectations from outside. I am caught up in variety of experiences, variety of objects, variety of thoughts. So when someone says to us that, I'm totally full of stress, I have lot of problems in my life, you are engaged with variety of thoughts, variety of objects, and their association. You forget your real nature, that is consciousness. Body, sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Space inside. Space is awareness, and awareness is the space. Any thought comes to your mind, it brings some knowledge. That is why we say, I'm stressed, I'm happy, I'm unhappy. But we don't examine what is an object of that knowledge. plus consciousness is hidden behind. We take it ourselves as a thought with the object. Nothing is required, you see. I could see you all are sitting steady still. Any thought comes, forget about lane 1, lane 2, and lane 3 that we used to do in Mondays and Thursdays session. It has a different approach. Any thought comes, every thought has an object for cognition. So object of knowledge plus thought of an object plus consciousness. Can you see that? Let the thought come and go. There is no liking and disliking for any thought at this moment. Examination is there. I'm upset. For the consciousness, it is the same thought as I am happy. Do you see that? If you see that, you are already there. Any thought, any experience is the same as the knowledge. Any experience is the same as a perception. Every perception has an object plus thought of that object plus consciousness. What happens? You are always free. Why? I like you to see that clearly. There cannot be any cognition of any object without consciousness. You cannot have any thought without consciousness. Objects in cognition and the thought depends on the consciousness. Consciousness does not depend on the thought and object. It is independent. What is independent is me. That does not change. If it does not change in waking, dream, and the sleep, it will definitely not change, even if this body is left out. Let us, you can say go deeper, and it means same thing in today's session. So you are looking at the breath. You have a clear recognition that this breath is an object. It is an object of perception, or you can say object of knowledge. Plus, when I say that you are looking at the breath, that is the thought of the breath, plus consciousness. Now my breath is changing. That is another thought. So you do nothing. Now my breath has become shorter. That is another thought. Do you see how penetrating awareness is required And that is why the master always say, be a seeker. When you are a seeker, it is possible. And we become a seeker every time we attend the session. To remain as a seeker throughout. I take my thought as I am. I am unhappy. I am happy. I believe you all are getting it. I am happy. I am unhappy. It is a thought. Thought is an object. I, because of the ignorance, I make it as a subject. Thought is always an object. Thought always contains an object. There is always an object of perception. Object of perception plus thought plus consciousness. So I am happy. It is purely what we normally say as subjective feeling. I made the object as a subject due to ignorance. Even today, you have variety of objects, variety of experiences, variety of thoughts in the presence of one consciousness. Now, see what I'm saying, pay attention. You are looking at the breath. When I say you, is it a thought or is it a consciousness? As long as the mind lays with the thought, the false I takes over. Behind that, when you are aware that this thought cannot happen without consciousness, mind goes into silence naturally. For the sake of understanding, I am saying I need not to say it. Keep looking at the breath. So when I say keep looking at the breath, it feels as if you are doing something. In the field of the consciousness, there are many thoughts, many objects. One of the objects is the breath. I'm not saying you focus. No, but your mind switches on to some other images and object. Let it be. You recognize consciousness is there. Oh, another thought comes, but the consciousness has to be there. That's why you recognize that thought. So you see, consciousness remains the same, the thought changes, object changes, perception changes, experience changes. One uniform consciousness is present. As if everything is happening in the space, we can take it so easily. So this everything is happening in the consciousness, and still the space remains untouched. Space still the consciousness remains untouched. Awakening to this is what is known as the awakening. That consciousness is all pervading. So any movement, any change, nothing to do with the consciousness. It is all pervading. Where it will move, where it will change. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand, your mind on the left hand. Lift your both your palms, place it on your eyes. Open the eyes inside the palms, know your experiences. Bring the hands down. share our experiences. If you have any questions, sure. You're most welcome. How are you, Stephen?
Good, sir. Thank you very much. Always like the mathematical equations and looking at all of this. It makes a lot of sense. Very deep. A lot of contemplation and reflection again in the Saturday's lessons. But the one thing that I kept repeating to myself over and over again is that, always use the term that I want to be in peace, but in reality, I actually am the peace. And peace associated, and for there to be peace, you've got to know the peace, which then becomes the object, but it's the peace and then the consciousness. So I said, okay, I had to always lean into the consciousness in order to find the real self, which was good. So I'm going to process all of that. When I close my eyes, I will share, there was just one single vision the entire time that my eyes were closed, and that was the image of your master with this, and I couldn't stop seeing that.
There is
and
only
it was very calming.
Very one consciousness. He is pointing to the truth. Beautiful, something popped up in my mind. You see that there is another way to analyze this. In mathematics, we have an equation on the right hand side, on the left hand side, isn't it? So take an example of 20. On the left side, 20 is equal to, say, 10 plus 7 plus 3. Both, it is equal, 20 by 20, right? So how we have to arrive at the one I am the consciousness. So now this 10, this 7 and 3 are the waking state, dream state, and the sleeping state. But behind that, it still equates with the 20, and that 20 is the pure consciousness. Think of this. There are many ways we can think. How are you, David and Jerry?
Thank you, sir. Always enjoy the lesson at the beginning, especially on Saturday. It's very good. The mind was very active and lots of processing and thoughts going on constantly, but I do feel I was in a very deep meditative state with all of that going on, and I feel a lot more calmer and at peace.
It is 100% possible. Hundreds and millions of thoughts are still present in the mind, but you have a cognition. There is behind all these crazy thoughts, there is a consciousness. You are there. And then what happens? These thoughts cannot stay for long. You enter into a deeper state. Beautiful. How are you, Jerry?
Sir, I'm good, thank you. The meditation was really good. The mind was just kind of floating with all the words and not attaching to anything. So it was just content to just be. For the lesson, I found that the idea of experiences and that they're always changing. For me, I think that our experiences, sometimes we can look back or just being present, and we have, maybe for me it was an event in my life, a traumatic event. My dad was murdered when I was 8, yeah. And I had this first time of an awareness of that he was still there, even though I couldn't see him. And I always thought, as I got older, it was just my way of wanting to, that was soothing for me, yeah, to just want to think that. But then when I went into nursing, I thought I saw life and death, birth and death, and I was observing that and seeing something that was the same, but I didn't know what it was. And then when I happened to a yoga class and they talked about philosophy, I said, oh, that's what my mind thinks.
This is what your mind thinks. Beautiful.
And yeah. So but it's interesting because sometimes we keep searching for another master or another book or another, but we don't, and then we stop searching. We're not searching anymore.
Yeah. That's a beautiful. All the events experiences that has happened until date. It has an object, it has a perception, plus the consciousness. What is common is the consciousness. And that is what I am. I cannot be my experience, whether it is a traumatic, whether it's a pleasurable experience. Once we recognize that, we are already there. Beautiful way. How are you, Brandy?
I'm good, thanks. I had the experience of focusing on consciousness during the meditation, so the thoughts dissipated, which you said that in previous sessions, and it doesn't always work for me, but it worked today, which is nice. And Juri, I was listening to what you just said in your sharing, and I've heard that, you know, when you experience trauma, sometimes it's like in the moment, the trauma is so traumatic that you actually get to experience consciousness because the mind can't work on it. I mean, it just can't do anything with it. So it's actually an opportunity for real consciousness, and that might have also been, you know, part of your experience at the time of your dad's death. You know, I don't know, but just that it's so much that mind just doesn't work anymore, and all you have left is consciousness.
Yes. See the present scenario. Hundreds of people in Ukraine are being killed. It is not a traumatic experience for me. Why? There is no association. Why there is no association? Because it is too far from me. So when I have an association, I feel nearness. And that very nearness is the cause of the ignorance, because I forget the consciousness. I related myself to the I thought. So pure, just examine. Any trauma, you examine, the trauma will go away. Forget about, you examine any pleasure. So your mind says, no, I am getting a pleasure from the world outside. The pleasure will go away. It will be replaced by that peace and the happiness, which is of the nature of consciousness. How are you, Dennis?
I'm good, thank you. And the talk again reminded me that all outer objects, thoughts, and experiences are not only false, but also are absolutely neutral with respect to myself.
Yep.
So what makes them good or bad is the likes and dislikes that live in the mind. And as long as I'm able to dissociate with these likes and dislikes, then all thoughts appear as neutral, and all objects appear as as if they don't have anything to do with me.
Yes.
But also, I have a question.
Yeah.
The question is related to memory. How is memory related to consciousness? Is it a function or a feature of the mind, or is it also a feature of the consciousness?
Yes, that is very beautiful question. First thing, we understand mind in general structurally one, but it has four functions. What are those four functional entities? Mind and the memory. Two, intellect and the I thought. So mind is basically made up of the four sets. So that is what we say, the memory keeps that knowledge, what we have experienced at the sensory level, at the mental level, at the thought, and whatever. And even the past impressions remain there. I will take up in detail that we are already moving ahead in the Saturday session. So just think of it. There is a memory of mind, there is a memory of consciousness. Memory of the mind, all the past, present, future, good, bad, highly. Jerry was talking about the traumatic experiences. That is what we say, the memory of the mind. So that is why we associate mind and the memory together. This will come by this master is teaching in detail about that. The memory of the consciousness cannot be erased. That I'm the consciousness, it cannot be erased. It can be dominated, dictated, veiled by the memory of the mind or the I thought, but it cannot be erased. And that is what we are searching. That is why the Buddha says mindfulness is nothing but the self remembering. So here the self remembering is the memory of the consciousness, which goes into the mind and we realize I am the pure consciousness. How are you, Christina?
Thank you. I'm well. Through the teaching today and the practice, I was able to experience more profoundly that deeper sense of consciousness, and then noticing almost stress or fear about transitioning right out of our practice and our time together into the likes and dislikes that arise in contemporary life.
Yeah.
And wanting to just stay in this quiet place.
Yes, the moment you have likes and dislikes, you simply recognize it is an object. The moment you recognize it is a subject, there the problem comes. Subject means, this is me. Object means it is different from me. Contemplate. How are you, Terry? Good. If you cannot speak, it's okay.
I'm fine. I'm just listening.
Good. Listening means knowledge. Are you into that knowledge that I am the real self? Yes, that is what it is. How are you, Shok? Ashok is perhaps, you see how we use Ashok is freezing. Ashok is not freezing. Fact is this, that is how we use the word in our daily life. When I say I am upset, I am not upset. It is because of the likes and dislikes. I'm waiting for the Ashok to return. Ashok has a good pose. Very contemplative pose, you see that. But it is not a fault of the Ashok, he's freezing. So due to the ignorance, we freeze down. Think of that. We freeze down. I hate you. I like you. There is no like, there is no dislike, Consciousness is always full of that state. Let us see if a few seconds he returns. It's okay. If he does not return, so nothing is, we freeze down because of the ignorance, because of not knowing who am I, because of knowing who I am is false. So I think, let us meet Ashok in our next session. That is all for today. Thank you.